from Transformers 1, I finally found him. I found the figure that I'm convinced is just going to be special. I don't know why, but ever since I saw this Sentinel Prime, I just knew there'd be something about him I'd like. Bumblebee looks great too, do not get me wrong, but I am actually just so beside myself I finally found Sentinel. So, we're going to continue our look at Transformers 1 toys, finish up our look at the Prime Changers, their deluxe assortment. We saw Optimus and Alpha Trion yesterday, now we get to see Sentinel and Bumblebee. Hey, I'm just popping in with a little PSA. So, you see Bumblebee, right? And you see that he has like his transformation cog exposed. You look on the back of the box, he's supposed to have a chest piece, the piece comes off. It is actually like given its own little wrap down there in the box. So, kind of like Gears in Legacy United, he's not going to have his chest piece in box. Don't worry, no one swiped it. It's just packed separately. Getting Bumblebee and Sentinel Prime out of the box, there are a lot of thoughts I have. Sentinel is still really calling to me, but Bumblebee is actually pulling a lot more weight than I would have thought. Plus, he's the largest out of any of these deluxes. Did not see that coming. So, why don't we look over Bumblebee first, and then we'll finish by looking at my boy. This is what Bumblebee looks like when you pull him out of the box. Now, I want to say, a lot of people have compared the Transformers 1 art style to Bionicle and the Robots film that had Robin Williams in it, and I can definitely see it with a lot of the characters. The one I see it the most with is Bumblebee, at least when it comes to the 2005 Robots movie. Now, when you pull him out, he has these great proportions, very stocky. He really brings like the Bumblebee movie, Bumblebee to mind, with a more G1 flair. Now, in terms of actually completing the figure, it is cool that we have the transformation cog right there in the chest. I really love that detail. But this is his chest plate. You just pop that right on. And it is kind of funny how he has that. Meanwhile, Optimus's Matrix was like hidden within a transformation joint. But I guess it would probably make more sense for Bumblebee's transformation scheme, maybe. So you get this guy complete, and he's just a great little ball of a figure. All these joints working in tandem, giving you so many great options. He's a very chunky Bumblebee, a very friendly Bumblebee. He is the definition of friend-shaped. I am absolutely in love with this Bumblebee silhouette. The big shoulders, the kind of stocky upper body, and I love his head. Look at that face! I would have loved it more if he had like a little smile, but he's so cute. This is a very cute little Bumblebee with a great kind of War for Cybertron with a little bit of G1 with a little bit of even Prime thrown in there with the head crest. It's a good looking bee head sculpt. Not to mention, he has so much great articulation and a wonderful set of tight joints. Whereas Optimus was a little bit loose and had a hard time staying together, Bumblebee is nice and solid all throughout. Talking about that articulation, we have a ball joint in Bumblebee's neck, you have a good ball joint in the shoulder, and also a ball joint here above the elbow for transformation. You have a knee or a elbow joint. With that ball joint, you can get an arm swivel. Nothing in the wrist, but you have a waist swivel, ball joint at the hip, a good single jointed knee, and then down here you can go forward but not back, and there is no side to side, even though it really feels like there could be with that cut. So you have decent articulation for Bumblebee, but what's even better is we have a couple of accessories to work with. We have this gun of his, which is very similar to movie Bumblebee's cannon, and we have the sword. It's very chunky. Of course, in the commercial, there's the joke about Bumblebee finding out he has knife hands, so it's cool that we got these accessories. They just tab like so. The gun goes into the hand, whereas the sword has tabs along the arm that it can tab onto, and either weapon can go into either hand, and if you want, you can even move the knife lower down, put it directly onto his hand, even though the hand tab is a little bit looser. So, you have good options when it comes to the accessories here. Between this Bumblebee, the Earthspark Deluxe Bumblebee, and the Studio Series 86B, we're just on a run of good Bumblebees at the moment. Now, can my boy Sentinel hold a candle? Sentinel definitely has some issues, but maybe it's just the months I had constantly wanting this figure and convincing myself he'd be the best thing ever. I still think there's a lot of good to Sentinel Prime. When you get Sentinel Prime out of the box, He looks great, absolutely majestic. I really love his big shoulder pads going down to that thin waist and then coming out with the big booties. He is very regal. He looks almost like Star Saber with these proportions. Also, with this chest and the little gold outline, he kind of reminds me of Earthspark Soundwave. What really helps with it is that head sculpt. A beautiful head that doesn't really remind me of anyone. I guess like Zeta Prime from War for Cybertron comes to mind just a little bit. I do find it kind of funny that between this Sentinel, Zeta Prime, G1 Sentinel, and also Animated Sentinel, we've all seemed to agree that Sentinel's colors are blue and then this kind of goldish orange. It's kind of weird how it all played out like that. In terms of accessories, Sentinel Prime comes with quite a few. Now he comes with these two big cannons, but you can see that they have ports for 5mm pegs. They're not actually pegs themselves. They're supposed to go on Sentinel Prime's shoulders. And you have these guns just constantly pointing forward. I like the look. I can see how a lot of people might see that this is a bit goofy, and I guess it is goofy, the fact that he's just constantly going to have guns pointing wherever he's facing, but I like how it completes his shoulders. If you want, you could always twist them to the side, and I actually like that even more. It looks like he has these massive shoulder pauldrons. Kind of reminds me of the shoulder pads that Starscream wears with his coronation gear. I might keep the guns like that, personally. Alongside those shoulder guns, Sentinel comes with smaller pistols that actually kind of look like the guns that Rumble and Frenzy wear on their backs, and this very cool shield. I love the pink here. So the shield is supposed to go on his arm over here. There isn't a peg for it over on this arm. As for these guns, they can go on the wings, or you can put them in the hands. What I think is cool is that the pegs are actually thin enough that you can double up on them and give him like this cool kind of double-sided pistol if you want. That's how I've been doing my Sentinel. I like these accessories. They're not as universal as I wish they could be. I would have loved it if you could have put these guns like on his forearms like he was a Seeker. But it's good enough for what it is, and I do like that it gives Sentinel a unique silhouette. Articulation is solid if not spectacular. You have a ball joint at the head, you have a universal here in the shoulder that can go up and down, you have an upper arm cut with a rivet, you have a single jointed elbow, nothing in the wrist, you have a waist swivel, a ball joint at the hip, a good knee cut, as well as a single jointed knee that goes very deep, and then nothing down in the feet. So, he's not the most articulated figure here, that's still probably Alpha Trion or Bumblebee, but he is more articulated than Optimus, and I'd argue that the points he has are meaningful enough to really make something special. Here they are with Studio Series Transformers 1 Optimus. I actually really like how they look alongside this Optimus. And then here they are alongside Alpha Trion and Orion Pax. I was not actually calling this. Optimus is taller than Bumblebee, but Bumblebee is far denser and weightier. Overall though, this is a great little foursome of figures. I can't wait to see what Bumblebee and Sentinel look like in vehicle mode. In vehicle mode, I think Sentinel is the obvious winner. Bumblebee looks good, don't get me wrong, but both of them had great transformations. Sentinel's transformation in particular was so amazing, how the arms unfolded to become the cockpit. I really did enjoy Bumblebee's transformation as well, but he has some very weird shapes in car mode. Looking at Bumblebee's alt mode on the box, for some reason it reminds me of like a bullet train. Like, it's a cool looking car, but then you get to the back and like, those are just the feet, and that's probably accurate to this car mode, don't get me wrong, but like, it kind of just looks like he has a boarding ramp going up the back. That's a cool enough future car. I like it more than the War for Cybertron Bumblebee. The wheels spin very well, the front comes together nicely. It's just, you know, after how great the robot mode was, the car mode's just a bit strange. It's kind of cool when you put the gun and sword on top, I guess. Now it just looks like a high-speed tank. But then you have the Sentinel Prime jet mode. This is what made me fall in love with the figure. I love how this jet mode looks. The wings, the hits of blue, the overall sleekness of it. The transformation to get here was so much fun. Here's the thing. For weeks, I've been trying to figure out who this reminds me of. Because for a long time, I was like, oh, it's supposed to be Cybertron Dirge. That's not what this jet mode reminds me of. It reminds me of Beast Machine's Jetstorm. One of my favorite characters to never get an accurate toy. All I'm saying is, Hasbro, if you want to sell like 20 of these, Make this into Jetstorm. I will buy it. Yes, I am that dumb. I sang the praises of Alpha Trion yesterday, and I do think that he is as good as Bumblebee and Sentinel. But I also think that both of them just blow Optimus out of the water in terms of the Prime Changers. These three are incredible little Transformer toys that have cool actual conversions, they have great robot modes, they have cool vehicle modes. So why don't we convert them back for final thoughts? Just one more thing about Sentinel Prime, right? So one, this is what he looks like when you have the wings fully unfolded in robot mode. But, I didn't even realize this, he has expressive wings. They're there to make transformation easier, but because of that, you can totally change this guy's silhouette. It's so cool. I didn't even realize he would have had the expressive wings. I love that. It gives you so many options when it comes to your Sentinel Prime. Bringing all four of the Prime Changers back in, I can say this is my favorite single wave of Transformers in a very long time. You have 4 Deluxes, no repaints, they all have great transformations, good robot modes, great articulation, solid accessories. They might not have the individual high points as a wave of, say, like Transformers Legacy United, but there's no low point here either. They are just consistently clever, fun little toys. If I could only suggest one, I would actually suggest the Bumblebee. I think the Bumblebee is the best overall experience. He has the most accessories, he has some of the most clever ideas. I still stand by Sentinel. It might just be me fanboying after weeks and weeks and weeks of salivating after this figure, but I think Sentinel is the best looking one here. After that, I think Alpha Trion is a great figure in his own right, but I think the Beast Mode might be kind of off-putting to some. Optimus is the bottom of the heap. It doesn't help that he has the Studio Series figure to compare him to, but again, all 4 of these figures are just wonderful. They make me so excited for Transformers 1, and at the end of the day, it's nice to know that a figure that I have been wanting, just absolutely clamoring for, singing the praises of every time I could, I get him in hand, and he actually is one of my favorite Transformers of the year so far.